Okay. Hi. Welcome to me talking about South Park. Mostly, South Park, uh, South Park's episodes addressing environmental issues and why it's cool. Um, okay. So first off is Jimbo and Ed. They are like kind of the most important part of, uh, pretty much. Okay, they're the first part where anything environmental happened. Um, and significant episodes are the Mexican staring frog of southern Sri Lanka and Volcano, mostly big Volcano. But they're two resident hunters in South Park, and they specifically um, go hunting in the woods and fishing. And Volcano features a natural disaster and hunting, and it's like environmental impacts, and Patrick Duffy dies. The Mexican staring frog of southern Sri Lanka shows more about hunting, and I'll talk about their catchphrases later. But they're just two guys who have also been in wars. Um, why does this matter? In short, it's a satirical view on hunters and hunting, especially Volcano. During the episode, Kenny, Jimbo, and Ned go fishing in a small lake pond thing. Instead of fishing like how we typically see, they throw a huge grenade in the water, which kills all the fish in the lake. Obviously, people don't really do this, but it pokes fun at people who hunt so much that they take out entire ecosystems, which is not good, and it's a like serious problem. Um, in the episodes with Jimbo and Ned, we see them change their hunting catchphrase from "It's coming right for us" to something like "We're thinning out the numbers." They do this because people like protesting hunting were like, "Oh, you're just blatantly lying," and now they're like, "Oh, well, there's just too many of them. We gotta get rid of them," which is dumb and not true. Really, they just like hunting because it makes them feel more manly, which is a problem. But instead of like, oh, we're just doing it for food, yummy food, and they're like, oh, well, it's fun. What else do we have to do? Um, I don't know how that got there. Spontaneous combustion. While this episode mostly focuses on Randy being totally stupid, the end discusses carbon and the atmosphere, pretty much global warming, um, and this it's got some stupid parts. But when Kenny gets a new girlfriend, he doesn't fart anymore. He's a nice little guy. But this leads him to trap up all the methane gas inside of him until he combusts randomly, and everyone's panicking. And later, Randy declares everyone should fart all the time, which leads to a very high amount of methane being released and getting trapped in our atmosphere. South Park is suddenly very warm, and they find out that it's all Randy's fault. In the end, it is resolved by farting in moderation, which, although is silly, it has some real world weight if you swap farts with carbon expelling machines like factories, cars, and trains. Mostly cars. But it would be incredibly hard to live without cars. But in moderation, could we save our planet from melting? We gotta figure out for Kenny's sake. But mostly it's like, oh, this is actually happening, but because global warming wasn't like a bigger issue in 1999, they were like, oh, well, I don't know. Let's talk about farts instead. Um, Rainforest, Mainforest. This episode is about the four boys going to Costa Rica for Getting Gay with Kids, which is led by a teacher who is voiced by Jennifer Aniston because she just wanted to be a part of South Park, which is funny. But it's an organization that tries to save the rainforest from companies that are chopping down the forest. During the episode, they get lost in the forest and are attacked by giant bugs, snakes, and weird little guys. And they can't decide that, and they decide that they hate the rainforest, which obviously isn't really the case in real life. It's like kind of like it's ironic and it's dumb. Um, but it shows the reality of nature. It's like it's scary, and it's kind of, well, mostly for money, but it's kind of why they want to get rid of all the rainforest and all that stuff. But um, it has many environmentalist cliches like we must only take photos and leave only footprints. It's more afraid of us than we are of it. And we have to respect Mother Nature, and she will respect us. It pokes fun at environmental activists who have never had any experience in nature, but it's just a really silly episode, and mostly it's bringing attention to the fact that people are actually cutting down our rainforests, and it's less of a, well, rainforests suck, so let's kill them all. It's more like, well, it's happening, which I feel like is the more important takeaway. Um, but yeah, the Man Bear Pig episodes. These are like some of the like climate change episodes. It's one of the many controversial episode like series of South Park, and it's one of the very few episodes where Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators, apologized and went back on what they said. The original episode was a part of the 10th season, episode 6, that first aired in 2006 after Al Gore created a film about climate change that many believe to be silly since there wasn't nearly as much information about it then versus what we have now. Um, Everyone pretty much agreed with Trey and Matt, and we're like, oh, he's making it all up. Like, it's not real. He's just trying to scare us. Man Bear Pig is meant to represent climate change, and during the episode, Al Gore won't stop pestering the boys about him, eventually leaving them to be trapped in a dangerous cave, making them all hate Al Gore. He is also just very hard to like in this episode because he's terrible. Um, but eventually we see Man Bear Pig again in the Imagination Land episode, where he is a made-up character. Like, they're once again saying he's not real. But only in season 22, 12 years later, they acknowledged Man Bear Pig again. After children are murdered in South Park, all the cops think it's school shootings, which it's not. They realize that Al Gore was right about Man Bear Pig, and they desperately trying to find him. Well, Al Gore, and they have many satirical jokes in these episodes. Time to get cereal, and nobody got cereal. Like the one where a guy is talking to his girlfriend about, oh, Man Bear Pig's not real. There's no way he's actually killing anyone. Well, Man Bear Pig is literally killing people right behind him, which is poking fun at climate change deniers because they don't think it's happening. Well, the Earth is literally changing temperatures. Um, uh, and Trey and Matt indirectly apologize in this episode to Al Gore, and the people who were convinced that climate change was fake, or because of this episode. I don't think many people were, but by they don't really like do it like Al Gore, we're sorry, but the four boys apologize like endlessly in in those episodes, which is like bringing attention to climate change again, and because they're worried about it too, and by addressing it, they're um, telling the people that they were wrong and that it is real, and that I don't know. I don't know why I put this sides, but Al Gore was the only boss I could not beat in South Park Stick of Truth. He's too difficult. But overall, they still don't go back on making Al Gore really annoying and dumb, but he is right about Man Bear Pig, or climate change. It's interchangeable at this point, but I don't know. It's about climate change. 2 days before the day after tomorrow. Um, it's a really silly episode about Stan and Cartman accidentally destroying the Beaverton Dam with a boat because they crash into it, which floods Beaverton. The boys lie to the town about what really happened, and they let them believe the flood was caused by global warming. This led to the town totally freaking out, and eventually the whole world believing global warming was an immediate threat, and that was like a monster instead of climate change. It parodies the day after tomorrow. They react like it's a zombie apocalypse, and that it's gonna chase them down. Randy leads the town into believing instantly after global warming period that they were in quotations, because it's not. They're not in a crazy global warming thing. That they're gonna go into an ice age, like a day after. Meanwhile, the boys go back to Beaverton and try to save the world while Cartman is terrible. In the end, the government states that the dam didn't break because of global warming. It broke because of crab people. Stan ends up trying to say he did break the dam, but because the town people are really stupid, they think he's trying to be like, oh, I broke the dam. Everyone broke the dam. It's all of our faults. Like, instead of being like, I don't know. They're dumb in this episode. 2 days before the day after tomorrow. Who cares? Why does it mean anything? These can be like this episode can be interpreted a lot of different ways. Personally, I think it reflects how people react to climate change and like why we react the way we do. The way that the South Park people react is very different. Like, after we realized climate change is kind of happening, we weren't like screaming and panicking and hiding away. Like in the second little clip where all the people are yelling and screaming and running, I think is a perfect example of what we did not do. Instead, we kind of just like don't acknowledge it a whole lot. We're like, yeah, it's happening, but we're not doing anything about it. I mean, some people are, but we haven't really done anything major about it. As a culture, we don't really tend to think about the future and what we do and how it could affect it. Especially climate change, since it's not an immediate change. It doesn't seem to be like a top priority. Thankfully, it's not an apocalypse kind of thing, but I feel like if it was kind of crazy, like a dramatic change, we'd probably do something about it. But I'm so glad it's not, because that would totally suck. But I don't know. I feel like this episode is like, here's what they're doing because they're dumb, but we should also do something. Technically, this came out before Man Bear Pig, so they didn't have Al Gore to make fun of, but they do like acknowledge it. I don't know. It's a good episode, and it's funny. um, Thank you for watching. South Park has a lot of examples of environmental issues, specifically the superhero ones with like oil drilling and all that terrible stuff, but it's not very appropriate, and I'm not going to talk about it because it's kind of a stretch. some of these were also kind of a stretch, but since they're like surrounding like um, changes and human impacts on nature, I feel like it counts. Sometimes what they say is just like, I don't, it's happening. They're not very like, we have to do this now. Except in the 2 Man Bear Pig episodes where Man Bear Pig is a demon and they summon Satan to get rid of him. It gets weird. But it's funny. Okay. Well, South Park is totally cool. And bye.